Okay, so a magic space wizard from a secret society that kidnaps children from orphanages and possibly kills their parents tutors your sister in mind boogaloo magic.
Yes, Doctor, I did say you wouldn't... Where did the other guy go?
Other guy? Oh, the doctor, yes of course. He stepped out and I took his place.
But how? For the entire time I've been talking, he was here. The man hardly left my sight.
You went back under for a while, but you woke back up and started talking again like nothing had even happened. For you, it must have all happened in the blink of an eye.
Like hell, I fell asleep. You know what, Doctor? I'm starting to not really like this place. It's dark, it's cold, and it's... so quiet.
Private hospitals tend to be quiet. It goes without saying not many people can afford us, and the less patients we have, the more time doctors have for the paying patients they do have. Bright lights would hurt your eyes, and maybe the reason you always feel cold has something to do with what put you in this bed,
Oh stars, bring back the other doctor. He was drab, but at least he didn't smart-mouth his patients. Do you get paid to patronise me, or are you just a prick?
We get paid to cure patients, not to pander them. Now tell me if you would be so inclined. Would you kill for your family?
Come again, Doctor?
I mean, it depends, doesn't it, what you consider family. Some people only count blood relatives, but another would call a close friend or even a pet dog part of the family. Then there's the issue with your father and whether you consider him family or not. Because if not, then your family is rather small, isn't it?
How would I know how to answer that? I've never killed anyone.
Debatable, sir, debatable. You have the blood of the thousands of workers whom you illegally employed through a front of private businesses and then dropped them the moment your own hands were at risk of getting dirty. You said it yourself. Some will be dead by now. Do you not consider that murder?
No. Workers get fired and sacked every day, but the employer doesn't get branded a murderer just because they died from starvation later. Maybe they should, but they don't. That's the way in this world we've built. It's ruthless and unforgiving. Why am I even arguing with you? I don't need to explain myself to any of you. You save lives for a living, and I will one day make choices that will affect billions of lives for better or worse, whether I mean to do harm or not. Our professions don't mould compatible outlooks on how the world works.
Fine, it's not murder. But why did you do it? Let it go, I mean. You didn't do it to save yourself, you don't even care about yourself. You certainly didn't do it to protect your father, and you didn't do it out of a sense of obligation.
It doesn't matter why. Can we just drop the topic? I shouldn't have gotten involved. I shouldn't have been so rash, and I shouldn't have thought I could make other people's lives just a little bit better without having to risk it all, because in the end, I was never going to break the wheel before it broke me. So I abandoned them, like anyone with any sense would.
Break the wheel. Interesting. You don't think very highly of this world. Often when people use phrases such as breaking the wheel, they're talking about a society of self-perpetuating injustices. And I say interesting because as an heir to a throne of a system that is inherently, by nature, tyrannical and unjust, you are a part of that wheel. So, for whatever reason you started buying up enterprises. Along the way you convinced yourself you were doing some good. And you were. Maybe it made you feel better, or maybe you only did it to spite your father and show him you were capable of something. Either way, you knew what you were doing was only a drip in the pond, a fish swimming against the river. And once you lost against the tide, you came to blame one thing. The source. Oh, the metaphorical river. And so you feel as if the world is set up against those looking to do the right thing. I'm getting off topic, but we'll get back to that point later. Why did you do it?
I don't know. Maybe I just like not being branded a corrupt monarch before I even touch the throne.
A partial truth. You didn't want to be branded as a bad man, but not for any care for yourself.
No, not for myself. I didn't set out to make the world a better place. Just one thing led to another, and I started filling my head with ideas of good intent to justify what I was doing. But if I kept it up, I'd have been found out eventually by people other than my father, and then the entire world would have slandered and ruined me. I didn't care, honestly. At least I didn't back then. But the one thing I did care about was the thought of having to live with the fact that my sister would have then grown up surrounded by people raising her to hate me. Make of that what you will, Doctor.
Alright then, we'll get back to all that later. Please try to recall the next most recent memory. It should be getting easier now, more recent and clearer. Would you stop looking at me like that? What now?
Nothing. It just seems that the topic of conversation round here changes like the tide.
Variety in conversation is good for stimulating different parts of your brain. Logical parts, emotional parts, linguistical parts, all the parts. And now we're back to memory recall. So, what's the next thing that springs to your mind?
Your apparent knowledge of the anatomy of the brain fills me with confidence. But I digress as much as you do. A gala. One of the few events in the kingdom where members of every noble household are present.
What's significant about it? Your sister melts someone's intestines with her mind? No? Shame. But she was there, wasn't she? By the time the gala happened, she had been tutored by your inspector for
2 years, I think? Maybe 2.5. And I suppose I remember it because it was the first gala we held since the new federation had sprung up seemingly out of nowhere, gaining the support of more than a third of council nations overnight. The radical shift in the political climate was the talk of everyone everywhere, and the gala was no exception. Everyone wanted to know where we stood on the matter, and we all wanted to know where we ourselves stood on it.
Well, don't you want to talk about it more thoroughly then?
Not really, unless you want me to recite to you hour-long conversations of political word duels.
Well, there must be something that happened for you to remember it. Something you don't want to talk about?
Maybe. It's really not important and just a drag to talk about. Again, you wouldn't believe me.
You just told me your sister is magic and being tutored by Secret Service space wizards. I think we're past that point.
Fine, let's talk about how I manipulated the political systems of the kingdom to my own ends. Woohoo.
And that is why we should continue to push this new policy. The sudden collapse of small-time businesses may have been overlooked by most, but experts fear the domino effect such crashes could have caused. This is why we should all be pushing for greater corporate branching together. Everyone will benefit from the greater financial security, and we'll all be laughing at this little scandal in a few months' time.
Oh yeah, great idea right there. Brush the problem under the carpet and wait for it all to blow over while you line your pockets with as much credits as you can before jumping from your sinking ship.
I don't know what you mean, and I refuse to argue with you. The polls may look to favour your ill-placed party, but I am sure that when the day comes that the electorate will show their true colour. No matter what your little puppet prince does to help you.
Oh, puppet you say? Funny how you slander anyone with the heart and courage to stand up to corporate shows like you and give an inch of care for the people as puppets or Neanderthals. If the people could see how far up your arse the briefcases of corporate cash went, then you truly have more in your rear end stuffed with more than just a banker's
Gentlemen, I'm afraid everyone can hear you, so can you please both put a pin in your arguments for now? Kieran, what the Prime Minister takes up his rear is a matter you can discuss elsewhere, and you, Prime Minister, should know better than to debate politics with a man who acts like the rich have to stick up his. My most sincere apologies, Your Highness. I was just defending myself from this man's bashful rhetoric, and I bandied words and said things about you that should not have been said. Yes, Puppet Prince. It's not like I've never heard that one before. If I was offended by the remarks of every man who spoke ill of me, I might as well have never grown up. Besides, I doubt you'll be around by the time I'm in charge, so who cares? Well, maybe not myself, but as a representative of the party,
Your party won't even be around in 10 years' time, mate. I wouldn't worry about what little reputation's left of it.
Zip it. If you want to trade insults, do it somewhere more befitting such crass conversations. Perhaps the bar. That is where most pointless arguments happen, is it not? I'm sure that it's not necessary for the... Please, just go already. You're embarrassing us both. But, Your Highness, I really don't think it's necessary to kick us out for such a small thing. What would everyone think of us all if we had to be removed? I'm not kicking you out, I'm simply recommending you take your argument elsewhere. Everyone here didn't come to listen to ministers argue with each other about whatever it is you all argue about. So either go to the bar where most lengthy but pointless conversations are had, or step outside so that your noise disturbs nothing but the sleep of the birds. Very well, Your Highness.
Well, now that the bumbling buffoon is gone, I was hoping to grab you for a moment to talk to you about something.
Whatever it is, it can wait. I know this gala just looks like pointless pomp to you, but more politics gets done on nights like this than what Parliament gets done in a month. Whatever favour idea you want to run by me can wait until tomorrow.
Neither of those, okay? Just real quick. What's the stance of the royalty and nobility on the new federation? The sudden political takeover of over a third of the council's nations has caused chaos across the expanse. There's talk of revolutions, independence wars, worker revolts, and all sorts of tensions are brewing after the council refused to recognize the legitimacy of this federation. Maybe you haven't heard much about it living up in your Crystal Palace, but your own people have been touched by this too. People still don't know what the stance of the aristocracy is on this.
And you want me to tell you what, exactly?
Well, some insight on what the privileged classes think of the new federation will help to sway the people toward one side or another. Just to let you know though, in the probable case that you're out of a loop, the people are pretty much head over heels with this new federation.
I'm well aware what the people think. I pay more attention to what my own people think than you might realise. The new federation didn't spring out of nowhere, Kieran. They've been around for a long time, gathering the support of politicians and workers' unions. The fact so many nations joined them so quickly isn't a miracle or coincidence. You didn't hear anything from me, but it's clear the new federation has existed for quite some time as an underground movement.
So the conspiracists say.
Well, they're right. Don't you think it's rather fortunate for a political movement that was stamped out millennia ago to resurface now, just as crop harvests across the expanse fail so drastically for the third time? Sabotage can easily be mistaken for incompetence, and it's a certain bet that the Federation was simply squirreling away their harvests. Now, with the majority of the entire human race starving to death, the people would no doubt be infatuated with this new Federation. The main tenets and beliefs of it uphold the countless tyrants and oppressors, which appeals to the people who've suffered poverty and starvation under them for untold generations.
Huh. So you do know some history then? Then you must also be aware that this is a very populistic movement. No nation is safe from the calls of revolution this new federation inspires in the common folk. And in a nation where there is a literal monarchy in control of the food production, you're walking on very thin ice.
I've fallen through thin ice before, Kieran, and I doubt you've ever even seen snow, so I think you're overselling the peril we're in. Aren't our people some of the most well-fed citizens that live under the council's rule? Why would they want to support this new federation?
Aye, but when you live at the bottom, there's always more to be had from higher up. Just because you eat better than your neighbour doesn't mean you can't want more. And being one of the most well-fed people isn't a high bar to pass, so with most of the food you make being exported whilst there's still hungry stomachs down here, there's room for a case against you.
Well then, we've got our work cut out for us. Nothing's been declared yet, but we're supporting the council.
Huh, that's just what I did not expect to hear. Have you all gone stark raving mad?
You wanted to know our position, and now you know. Can you please leave me to myself now? We can talk about the intricacies another day, but if there's anything you should tell your people, it's that I'm calling in my favours now. Your party has the people's backing, and that'll be instrumental in keeping the party on our side when we stand against this federation.
Wait, paying favours is one thing, alienating our biggest electric group is another. It goes against what we stand for, what we built ourselves around. Your contributions only go so far.
Further than you think. You don't believe me right now, but if I were you, I'd start thinking of ways to spin a pro-council party to your voters. Don't worry about convincing your own people. They'll all come out seeing things my way soon enough.
Aha, sure kid. You've got more bark than I thought you did, but bark means nothing without bite. What are you gonna do? Bore us to death?
Nah, don't tempt me. I take great pride in my ability to bore people with tepid talk. Enjoy your evening, alright? For both of us. This may look all pumped to you, but this is just another working day for me. Now, the Prime Minister went that way. Go pester him.
Pardon me, Isaac. I'm just here to inform you that everything this evening is proceeding as planned, which means the first dance is in half an hour's time. You also asked me to remind you to call the Chancellor before then.
Great. More politics. And how are all the children? Are they getting along?
No hair-pulling or name-calling has started yet, so well enough, but you know how quickly temperaments can turn. Is there anything else?
Not now. Just remind the staff to be conservative with the alcohol this time. These festivities are nightmare enough without adding alcohol to the mix. We don't want a repeat of last year.
Very good, Your Highness. I have taken the liberty of excusing you from any immediate obligations whilst you converse with the Chancellor. It is best you go now, though, if you think it will take any longer than a quarter hour's time. In the meantime, I will ensure the mops are close at hand.
Why'd you stop?
It was a long phone call.
So?
I'm tired, and I don't feel like talking about it.
Then sum it up. It's clear you remember, but we still have to follow a flow without too wide a jump between every memory.
I wanted to keep the kingdom on the council's side. To do that, I needed to steer the support of the people, the parliament, and my father towards them. To get my father and the other noble house's support, I needed to make the idea of opposing the Federation not sound like complete suicide. We were being pressured to declare for one side or the other quickly, and 2 of our 3 neighbours were now part of the new Federation. Germany was the only hope, but political instability was delaying them from openly siding with the council.
How do you know they would side with the council?
Asking that is like asking why you don't backstab the man whose money funds your entire livelihood. Any German politician with any legitimate power owed it to the council. The council slips some credits to the power brokers, and the power brokers ensure that Germany contributes more than its fair share of credits back to the council. They all deny it, but everyone knows, which is exactly why they were so unstable at the time. The new federation appealed to the working people with talk of throwing off the shackles of council puppet politicians, which made many democracies hesitant to side with the council whilst pro-federation parties were poised to seize the vote in their elections.
So, you wanted German support to sway your own kingdom, but before that you had to somehow push Germany into action.
Exactly. I called the Chancellor, told him he needed to act quickly or else he'll lose the Kingdom of Eleuteria to the new federation. I knew I was one of the largest contributors to his synthetic program, and obviously there'd be no reason for me to give money to an enemy. On top of all that, his people were starving and I was the only person in the position to keep the kingdom in the council and exporting food to Germany. So, swaying him was easy enough. I convinced him to push his chancellorship to swiftly side with the council on the promise that Eleuteria would solely export food to Germany at a reasonable price despite the profits we'd miss out on. The promise of food would calm his own electorate, and the promise of German protection, which I insisted was required in the form of German warships, would help to convince my own people, and my father, that we would be better off with the council. But even with your support, Chancellor, there is one last issue. As long as the people are supportive, the Parliament will agree with little issue, but my father is another matter. Like most of the dukes and counts, he makes no secret that he tolerates the council only because to resist them would be our destruction. And just like all the kings and queens before him, he's completely distrustful of outsiders, especially those who back the council like yourself. No matter what protection you promise him in exchange for Eleuteria's support, he'd sooner call you a trickster and council sting operative than trust your deal.
So, how did we get him to sign this pact then?
Very simple. So unbelievably simple. Just blackmail him with threats of exposing me.
Come again? You want me to blackmail your father, using you as the pressure point?
Simple, isn't it? I honestly don't know if he cares for me or not, but I do know that he cares for the throne and its future. Right now I'm its future, and if I go down in flames so does his perfect view of our aristocratic ideas and traditions. He's probably already got all sorts of arrangements and plans with the other houses concerning me. He can't lose me. So just give some vague threat that you know something about some poorly judged mingling in the market and my private ventures, and he should fold.
Blackmailing your father aside, you said your parliament will work to turn the people against the Federation. How exactly do you plan that? Even if you have managed to convince one of the parties to support the council, the new Federation has a lot of money which they've no doubt used and will use again to bribe all manner of people to their side. Wealthy as you are, you cannot out-bribe the Federation.
That's okay. I have a cabal of sorcerers and wizards who can brainwash everyone I need into backing me in the council.
Is that sarcasm actually escaping your lips? I preferred you when you were smaller and less abrasive.
So did I, Arnulf. So did I. Now, if you don't mind, I've got other arrangements to see to right now. I'll phone you later. By the way, does our machine have a name yet, or does it still refer to itself as intelligence?
The intelligence has taken to calling itself Cortus. I have no idea what it means or if it actually means anything at all. It is a strange name, but it is much better than the first name it chose for itself.
Well, so long as it doesn't try to kill me next time I visit, I'd say it has made progress. Now I really have to go. I said I'd meet someone, and I'm running late.
Goodbye then, for now. Perhaps next time you hold your festivities you could squeeze in an invitation for my poor self. But yes, until next time.
Hiya. Sorry I left you waiting. I'm in just such high demand these days, you see.
Isaac, where are you when I need you? There's so much stuff I want to complain about to you. I swear, if I had to wait a minute longer, I was really going to lose my cool. The lights are brighter than last time. The flowers are different too. It's crowded because half of Parliament was invited for some reason, and on the wall there's a picture of a man painting a picture of another man, and I've always hated it and I don't know why you keep it there. My feet hurt because of these stupid heels. My eyes hurt because everything is so bloody shiny and bright. I'm cold, but I'm also hot because this dress is stupid and I'm stupid for wearing it. I almost tripped on one of your bazillion carpets because apparently you lot just love carpets and decided to put carpets everywhere. My face hurts from pretending to smile so much, and this gala is stupid and you're stupid and I'm stupid, and why the fuck do you finally make this place wheelchair accessible only after the fact that the one person who needed one didn't need one anymore?
Besides that, how's your day?
Alright, actually. Besides this stupid star-cursed costume that you city types call dresses. The colour was meant to match the hair, but in this light the colours clearly aren't right and now everything just looks awful. Very serious problems, as you can tell.
I don't see anything wrong with the dress. In fact, if that was a subtle attempt to get me to notice your new hairstyle, then you didn't need to because I already noticed. Also, your feet can't hurt because those are the same kind of heels you always wear to the galas.
Yeah, but I usually never have to bloody stand in them. But hey, you noticed that too. You aren't cheating, are you?
How would I cheat? Why would I cheat? What am I even cheating about? The heels?
You're off the hook for now, Mr. Unusually Flattering. But don't think I'm going to let you do all the cheering up. You're supposed to be the gloomy one, remember? And this role reversal is mighty suspicious.
Maybe I'm having an unusually good day. Maybe I'm just not as gloomy as I used to be. I, for one, enjoy knowing that after putting up with me for so many years, I can at least entertain you with my ever so impeccable wit.
Hey, I always thought it was you putting up with me, and in exchange you developed the ability to have a normal human conversation. Actually, I think we might have both failed on that front.
Hey, I'm normal. Somewhat. And I'm not letting you take the credit for my own stunning development.
Oh, you can keep the credit. If I could have shaped you the way I'd have liked, you'd have been a caricature of a dashing Prince Charming with a classically unrealistic, humble yet wholesome personality.
Wait, you're saying I'm not any of those things?
Stars know. If you know someone like that, point me to him.
If it'll spare me your vicious mockery, I'll happily pass you on to him and be rid of you.
Hey, that one almost cut skin deep. Keep it up and one day you might draw blood with that tongue. Come on then, this is a gala and I didn't come all this way to watch everyone else have fun like the last 24 times. I trust you haven't forgotten how to dance.
Dance? Oh no. I'm already stuck with the obligatory dances, and if everyone sees me voluntarily dancing outside of them, then I'll be roped into half a dozen more.
Yeah, but at least I'll be in one of them. Doesn't that make the whole ordeal worthwhile?
Ebba, do you even know how to do the 3-step?
Shut up, Isaac.